Some young teenager just asked me what I was doing. I told him I was making a video, and he said, "For what?" And I told him, and so he asked me, everybody's getting their cheeks busted in prison. And I told him, no, that wasn't true. He didn't put it like that. He is a little bit more vulgar. But anyway, so I was in the park. So I came over here to this settlers village, they call it. It's a bunch of old cabins. Most of them is 100 years old. I think one of them is a replica. And I got thinking, before they built the Missouri State Penitentiary, which was built in 1836, oldest operating prison west of the Mississippi until 2004. Where do they put people in jail? So I'll show you a little bit of this. So I think a lot of them, you know, each town had its own thing. And sometimes they didn't have a jail. They just stayed in where the sheriff lived. This says here is a guest cabin. Got all these cabins all the way down through here. I think one of them's a livery cabin. But you know, there wasn't much crime back then, you know. And when they did, they had a quick trial. If it involved like murder or something, you know. And they was a hangings, you know, and they said crowds would gather around and watch, you know. But the jails, see here. One of them, I don't know which one was restored, but the jails were real small. Like in my town, the town I grew up in, it was built like in 1870 or something, Newburgh, and it had this little concrete building that was jail before they got the regular jail, and you open the door, you know, and you go down the stairs like you're going in a cellar. Cellar. Huh. Maybe that's how they got their name. But anyway, that's what it looked like. It was a cellar, and you go down in there, there's just a small room. And then one side, a little small window with bars in it. At the very top, you couldn't even reach it, you know. So that was the jail. But I'm thinking, when they didn't have a jail, they stayed with the sheriff of the town, and he kept them in his house, or maybe out in his shed or something, you know, barn or something, you know. Had a ball and chain on him so he couldn't go too far. You know, and even if he did get away, you know, I think that's how the ball and chain came into being. You know, you hear different stories about how it came into being. But the Missouri State Penitentiary, they built it in 1836 based off the Auburn system. I think that's what it's called back east, the prison for punishment. And they built the prison out of granite. The walls were granite. The housing units were granite. You know, it was all granite and brick. Most of it was granite, big old granite stones. And they said also that Confederate soldiers were kept there during the Civil War. They had one housing, and it still says this. H Hall, or what is also called Housing Unit 1, had women housed in it. And then after that, it was the R&O for a long time until they built Fulton Reception and Diagnostic Center. Why am I giving you guys a history? I don't know, but anyway, I'm just gonna go with it now. But it was closed in 2004. As soon as they built the new prison, Jefferson City Correctional Center. A lot of people call it the walls, but it just replaced the walls. It's not the walls. It doesn't have a wall around it. It has a fence around it. You know, and but it's still in Jefferson City, Missouri. And right next to Algoa. Algoa is like up on the hill. And Algoa had like stone houses. Units, you know, they look like little houses. You know, they said it used to be a boys' home or reformatory or something. But I can't imagine before they built penitentiary and before modern times where they got jails. Just about every town has one. This one doesn't have one, but like 5 miles up the road, you got Hermitage, and it's got one. You know, it's the county seat. But, you know, these guys had to travel by horse or whatever, you know. And I'm just wondering, you know, if somebody got arrested, you know, was he able to ride his family, you know, wherever it was at? And you got to remember, the mail went by horse too. So, you know, I wonder how people found out about him, whoever was arrested, you know. I wonder if he served his whole time without anybody knowing, you know. Like, if he's in a different area. You know, if he's probably in the same town as his folks were, they would know, you know. It was probably a big deal when somebody got arrested back then. But I just came out here to show you guys these old log cabins and talk about how prisons used to be. I didn't mean to get on to the Missouri State Penitentiary, but this is a little park. And this park here they got it. You know, people bring their kids and stuff up for these to play here and stuff, but a lot of times they, like where I'm standing now, they'd have bands playing, you know, on like certain events, you know, holidays and stuff. And it's just where they hold different things at, you know. October, they always, you know, like Halloween, they always have a big thing here. They're probably going to have one on the 4th of July here. But anyway, that's all I got for you. And see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.